This country is in a revolution. They're sick and tired of what they're getting, and I happen to be lucky enough to be part of it.
It has been said that when in the course of human events, an oppression so revolts its subject that it becomes necessary to alter or abolish the means of that tyranny. Is it that time when our Bill of Rights is defiled every day? When our adventures abroad threaten our security at home? When the Federal Reserve keeps our free nation enslaved by debt? When the people of the world tremble under the thumb of corporate imperialism? And now, our nation is drifting dangerously from freedom to fascism. So I have to ask, is it time?
And now, from the luxurious Albino Raccoon recording studios located in the Midwestern heart of America, it's the last Voice for Liberty Network. And here's your host, The Mouth.
Greetings and salutations to all my fellow patriots. It is time. The last Voice for Liberty Network back here on the air. I am, of course, your host, The Mouth, laughing and scratching at you once again today. It is the 24th day of January 2013. How is everybody doing out there today? We'd like to get a few things going here today. I've got quite a bit I want to get covered in the short amount of time that I've got with you today. I wrote a piece on our blog yesterday, and I wanted to read it out to people today. Was a good friend of mine was posting on Facebook, of course, and he's posting about gun bans and things like this, and apparently a liberal friend of his got on there and was just spewing out the Piers Morgan facts and this and such about the UK and how just, you know, you're basically all the crap that they're saying on TV, this guy was spitting out like it was gospel. And it absolutely drove me nuts. I really thought that my brain was going to explode, folks. I'm not even joking. I felt like my head was just on the verge of explosion, like an overripe watermelon, okay?
Oh no, we're all doomed!
So I decided that I was going to write this. And I was just like, how many more times? How many more times do I have to do this? How many more times is it going to take? How many more times is the title of this, folks? And I wrote this yesterday. It's on our blog page, lastvoiceforliberty.blogspot.com. How many more disillusioned lies are we going to swallow? How can my fellow Americans, and that means you out there, folks, how can my fellow Americans take any of this crap seriously? Will we continue to just let this mainstream media blatantly lie to us without calling them on it? You know, I would have hoped that after 2+ weeks of time, more folks would have at least looked into Piers Morgan's astonishing gun violence numbers, but yet they continue to regurgitate them as if they were the gospel.
People like this are a menace to decent society.
Nobody fucks with the Jesus.
Now, the facts in the UK have been so misconstrued, folks. It's goddamn ridiculous. Okay.
Pay attention when I'm talking to you, boy.
The Piers Morgan's big to do with Alex Jones. They're talking about 2011, year 2011, where he, you know, Mr. Corporate Stooge mistakenly poisoned the public with we only had 34 gun deaths in the UK because we banned all guns. We're so good. But the fact is that the number was actually higher. The number is 59. Okay, now it's not a large number, but that's, you know, we've stated before, a vast number of gun deaths go unreported, okay? You've all seen these movies where, in fact, Casino, which was based on a true story, they told you that if a guy screwed up, they'd take him out to the desert and bury him in the desert. Do you think they reported that gun death? Was that reported as a homicide? Do you think that the possibility that could still continue on today?
You cocksmoker.
Of course it does. Our own government does it.
You fucking warrant. Don't ever go over my fucking head again, you motherfucker, you.
Now, the major points most TV shows leave out is how the European Union has declared the UK with the second highest overall crime rate in the European Union. The second highest. So banning guns, but you still have the second highest overall crime rate in Europe.
The cock and walk, baby.
Is this now making what good did banning guns do? No, they're not dying from guns now. Now they're dying from whatever, being clubbed to death.
Take her easy, dude.
Yeah, right. Now the violent deaths per capita in the UK are nearly 4 times that of the US. The United States isn't even in the top 10 in the world in violent crimes per 100,000 persons. We're at 466 violent crimes per 100,000 people in the United States. Now the UK is number 1 on the planet.
The mother lode.
Alright, around 2,000 violent crimes per 100,000 people. And they have less people there than we do.
I've seen some pretty shitty situations in my life, but nothing has ever sucked more ass than this.
Come on now. We actually rank 28th in the world in actual gun murders at 2.97 per 100,000 people. More Americans are shot and killed by police in 2011 than were killed by crazy people with guns in 2011 and 2012.
That's fucked up.
Okay, that's facts, folks. I can't stretch the numbers any differently.
Okay, fuckface. First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face!
I actually continued on arguing with this guy yesterday. Well, why do we need the Second Amendment? And I cited, the famous Japanese commander's quote of, we could never attack the American mainland because there'd be a rifle behind every blade of grass. Now, from the time he said it, this was the kicker to me. This is how I know that they're screwing with history, trying to rewrite history to get people to believe into it. And these numbskulls are actually doing it. It absolutely blows my mind.
Something stinks like stale French fries.
I made that quote to him. I said that this is why they won't attack us, because there's a rifle behind every blade of grass. This is what the man said. This is a fact. Well, apparently it was a fact only from the time he said it till 2009 when they released a book.
Who the fuck said that shit?
Saying that all of his quotes were misquoted. Now, wouldn't it be just convenient for the anti-gun zealots, which, we're starting out in 2009 when Barack Obama was first elected. They tried to start pushing this stuff through. Okay? They realized, learned.
So what?
That they had to go bigger and bigger and bigger to capture America and get the American people to get behind banning guns. Or just at least sway enough of you sheep out there to believe it.
Will they please screw that bear?
2009, they decided they were going to change history. Oh, no, you guys misquoted him. The guy's been dead 20 years, but you all misquoted him.
Settle down, Beavis.
We're just going to rewrite history and tell you what it is. We're going to take the one of the most powerful arguments for our Second Amendment right being left alone. But no, that was a misquote. He never said that. You silly goose. You silly fucking guys. You joke around too much. He never said that. He said we ran out of gas at Pearl Harbor. We didn't have enough gas to make it over the United States, or else we would have came over there and kicked some ass. This is what this guy did. He posted it to me. I swear before God, this is what he said. He said that they ran out of gas. It's so ridiculously laughable, folks. I mean, people actually believe this. They actually buy into it.
You two are just dumber than a bag of hammers.
He tried quoting me stuff from factcheck.org. Oh, you mean the same one that NBC Nightly News and these other people try to quote from all the time? That's gospel. Oh, what are you going to do next? Quote me some Snopes. Everybody knows they're real accurate. Well, at least if you're a Democrat, they're accurate. Anyway, the problem, gun problem in Chicago is blatantly evident, and it's come entirely from their own doing. And electing these left-wing communist people who want to disarm everyone, and they've made a higher crime rate. Now, the less armed the public is, the higher the crime rate. It goes to show everywhere. Everywhere that a populace is less armed, their crime rate is twice as high as anywhere else that is, more armed. That's why I'm saying more registered gun owners. Alright? Now, all they're left to defend themselves with in Chicago is handguns. Now, I'm telling you this, just not from experience, because I've never had to do anything like this, but
and I don't trust that shit at all.
If a criminal knows that all he has to face is a handgun in the dark, you're not going to be as accurate shooting in the dark if you can't see. Guys wearing all black and it's dark in the house, you're not going to be able to shoot them in the dark. There's smaller clips, so if you do shoot in the dark and miss, and you have to reload, you're taking some time to reload.
Do as I say, and you live.
A guy, a criminal, a halfway intelligent criminal who's ever watched any type of war movie or an episode of the A-Team or, Jiminy Christmas, they map it out for you on TV how to be violent and how to perpetrate these crimes. These crime shows are supposed to be so real, like that, what's that one with that stupid music? Law and Order. Yeah. They show you how these guys perpetrate these crimes, and then they show you what they did to get caught. Uh-huh. You think that the copycats ain't going to go out and try and do something like that? You're all concerned about people, kids sitting around playing video games where they're shooting up zombies or playing war video games or whatnot. Every Hollywood, poo-ha-ha that's got his head halfway out of his ass, and all of a sudden deciding they're going to come out and, we're against those violence as they continue to make more and more violent movies. This stuff is mapped out for people, folks. You're not, if you're going to, sit and jump on video games, because we don't all play video games, but we like that Law and Order show. Yep, it's so good. They're a bunch of freaking rubes, man. I swear to God.
Don't give me attitude, sir.
As I said before, I'm getting off topic here. Why don't you ever stop me?
Go ahead. I won't stop you.
But like I said before, an intelligent one could calculate their efforts and calculate what the chances and what needs to be done. Let's see, I just got to avoid getting shot for the first 6, 7 shots or however many they decide that you're allowed to have. You can only have so many bullets. You schmucks.
In a game of chess, you can never let your adversary see your pieces.
But the legal chance exists that the house or the person that they want to rob, these criminals, they're planning it. There's a legal chance that they may have a semi or fully automatic rifle with a good sized clip. Their ability and want to randomly attack is significantly diminished, folks. Significantly. There's a possibility that, hey, I'm going to go try and rob that rich guy's house. But, man, he's pretty rich. He might have a couple good guns. He probably got some semi-automatics and some probably good AK or something.
I can't put my hand on it.
Fuck. If he gets to that before I do, I'm screwed. Maybe I'll go do something else. See, it's a deterrent, folks. It's a deterrent. Being able to, for a citizen to be able to own these types of I don't want to call them assault rifles because they didn't never assault anybody. A rifle has never assaulted a person in its entire life. A person has used a rifle to assault someone, but a rifle has never done it. No gun has ever assaulted someone on its own. They don't just leap up and shoot at people.
Guess we can close the file on that one.
Another ridiculous argument, folks, that people always use, and this just kills me. I get so tired of explaining it, but how many more times do I have to? Hopefully, not too many. I guess I'll have to continue to explain it as many times as possible until everybody understands it. They all say, the forefathers never thought we were going to have semi-automatic guns and bazookas and rocket launchers and stuff like that. They didn't think, if guns were the same as they were in 1787, we wouldn't have this issue. Guys, a large amount of firearms were actually developed during the founding of our country. And to think that our forefathers, these gentlemen, with this absolute beautiful wisdom that's so vast and absolutely perceptual, enough so as to establish the greatest document and testament to the experiment that is America, the U.S. Constitution. These guys thought about this. All these other rights that still continue and extend, and we use and cite to each other from both sides, left and right, every day. Those have established, those have been good for 200 years, but this one all of a sudden, no, they didn't, they wouldn't have thought about that. Are you telling me that these guys were so stupid or so naive that they would not have thought that gun technology would advance beyond their own time? That's an insult. That's an insult to anyone with a rational thought in their brain, and it's an insult to the people who founded the country. I made sure but thought enough about you to make a constitution, write it down, and make it law of the land that protects you from the government. But no, they didn't. They wouldn't think that, somebody would, they're not going to make a gun that shoots more than just one round at a time. We're always going to use little round balls and single-shot pistols, flinging them around like the Flintstones. Sure. I'm sure that's exactly what they thought. You stupid! Good Lord, how dumb can you get? The reason we have the Second Amendment, folks, is plain and simple. National defense. We, the people, are the militia, okay? The only reason we have not had a full-scale invasion by a foreign military is because of our armed populace. As I said before, the Japanese commander in World War II said the very words that in America there's a rifle behind every blade of grass, which is why they didn't attack the mainland. And this remains the biggest safety net we have against actual terrorism, not made-up terrorists from Washington, or who's Al-Qaeda this week, and which Al-Qaeda group are we going to give guns to and support, and which ones are we going to say we're fighting. Our military spread halfway across the world, okay? Involved in wars that we have no business in. So how, pray tell, to all my liberal friends and you big gun rights activists, would they be effective enough to defend us when it takes them, some of them, and a big majority of them out there in Afghanistan, 17-some hours to get home? If we're disarmed as a public, we just leave our lands open to attack from abroad and from tyrannical government, folks. The Second Amendment goes, the rest of the rights are going to go right along with it, and y'all are going to be standing there holding the bag going, I don't think they do that. You call people like me paranoid. You call people like me angry. Well, you're damn right I'm angry. I'm angry that I have to be paranoid. Because the rest of you are too stupid or too self-involved to give a crap about this country. Gotta take a quick commercial break before I throw some across this room and break some shit. Be right back on the last voice for Liberty Network. Disney World, Porno, Valium, Reebok, fake tits, sushi, Taco Bell, rodeo, Red Path and Beyond, Liberty, White Slips, The Alamo, Band-Aid, Las Vegas, Christmas, immigrants,
The gentleman from California, Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Speaker, somewhat surprised, but to alert my friend from Texas that we've decided that he would be next, I yield to Congressman Paul 2 minutes.
The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Paul, is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you for yielding. I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I think there's clearly been a goal among a group of us, 2 goals. We have been striving to make sure this Congress follows procedure. That is, if we go to war, that we do it properly. It's pretty difficult to achieve this, especially when a president is willing to go to war, and then we have to do this in a second thought. I am pleased that at least today we are trying to catch up on this. The second issue is whether it's wise to go to war. And certainly under these circumstances, I think it's very unwise for the American people to go to war at this time. The Serbs have done nothing to us, and we shouldn't be over there perpetuating a war. Our problem has been that we are trying to accommodate a half century at least of a policy which is interventionism at will by our presidents. We have become the policemen of the world, and as long as we endorse that policy, we will have a difficulty with the subject that we're dealing with today. Today we're trying to deal legally with a half a war. A half a war is something like a touch of pregnancy. You can't have a half a war. If you don't declare a war, and if you don't have a war because it's in our national interest and for national security reasons, you don't fight to win the war. And that's always been our problem, whether it was Korea or Vietnam or wherever. So to me, it's so important that you fight war for national security reasons, you declare a war, and you fight to win the war. We're not about to do that today. We're not going to declare war against Serbia. Serbia has done nothing to America. They've been a close allies of ours, especially in World War II. So we're not going to do that. Are we going to demand that the troops be removed? Probably not. So what are we going to do? We're going to perpetuate this confusion. But what we should do is vote down a declaration of war, vote to get the troops out of there, and vote to condemn the bombing. And the sooner we do that, the better. That's in Americans' interests.
Gentleman's time has expired.
And now, a word from the President.
Let me take a couple of questions. Ben Feller.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've been telling the American people all along that you oppose extending the tax cuts for the wealthier Americans.
Yeah.
You've said that again today. But what you never said was that you oppose the tax cuts, but you'd be willing to go ahead and extend them for a couple of years if the politics of the moment demanded. So what I'm wondering is, when you take a stand like you had, why should the American people believe that you're going to stick with it? Why should the American people believe that you're not going to flip-flop?
Hold on a second, Ben. This isn't the politics of the moment. This has to do with what can we get done right now.
What?
And this isn't the politics of the moment. This has to do with what can we get done right now.
What?
This isn't the politics of the moment. This has to do with what can we get done right now.
4 little words. You didn't build that.
Somebody else did.
Someone else made that happen.
Did you build your business? If you did, raise your hand. Take that, Mr. President.
And I realize there's more to the quote than that.
The remarks are out of context.
He simply said the roads and the bridges you didn't build. I don't think it can be read that way.
So we wanted to take time to go back and play the entire segment right now.
Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, you didn't build that. You didn't build that. You didn't build that.
Oh.
You didn't build that.
What do we got here?
It's an air cannon for shooting marshmallows.
You didn't build that.
Mitt Romney strikes me so hard, it makes me feel like Shirley Sherrod. Out of context, those words aren't mine.
Private sector is doing fine.
Feels good. When the economy's weak, responding with a national security leak, Osama bin Laden, I killed. And that was a mission you didn't build.
You didn't build that. You didn't build that. You didn't build that.
If you've given $3 before, I'm asking again for a few dollars more. Clint Eastwood and the empty chair would be better than this Republican pair.
Shut up. It's my turn.
Let's rap together.
Go ahead.
You've got a lot to learn.
Mr. Ryan.
In his bout to retail, and maybe it's just a brighter shade of pale.
Mr. Romney.
And his friends on Wall Street.
What I'm saying is
we're super packing heat. And here is a woman killed, but that was an attack ad you didn't build.
You didn't build that. You didn't build that. I want everybody to give a huge round of applause to one of the best, Jennifer Granholm.
time. Obama time. The race is still in play. I gotta be careful about what I say. And so, from the Australian nation, I will be introducing these translations. The Republican Party and the debt ceiling fight.
Raving of the eccentric lunar right.
There are those who don't believe my birth certificate.
There are nut jobs on the internet.
To your guns. Keep on clinging to myself. I'll be singing. I'm so in love with you. What we need now is the Colbert Bomb. But just for a minute, let's all do the Trump. Yeah. Not bad, huh? You didn't build that.
I'm curious about your reaction when the president said,
You didn't build that.
That goes against everything I feel and love about this country.
You didn't build that. Hogan, this is the real American booking. Do you smell what Baraga's cooking? Morning in America. Not quite. It's pre-done, but we will soon see the light. Financial straits remain dire. You've got to remember, I did not start the fire. It was notorious GOP. And if you choose to vote for me, I will not just call you. Maybe. I am ready to go all the way, baby. That promise will be fulfilled. So join this chorus. You didn't build. You didn't build that. Tell your friends and neighbors and co-workers about this. You didn't build that. Get on Facebook. Get on Twitter. You didn't build that. We've got a hashtag that I want everybody to use. You didn't build that. You could even try.
And welcome back to the Last Voice for Liberty Network. I'd like to say that I've calmed down, but I haven't. I am your host, The Mouth, back here laughing and scratching at you, trying to get you, everybody out there, to try and wake up just a little bit, folks. We've got people getting arrested because their children drew pictures in school. We've got kids getting thrown out of school because they're using their fingers shaped like a gun and playing cops and robbers or cowboys and Indians or whatever the hell they're playing. Remember anybody over the age of 20 remember being a kid playing cops and robbers? Or something cool like that? You'd have fun for hours. Nobody ever got hurt. Nobody ever died.
This aggression will not stand, man.
And the vast majority of us grew up and didn't go out and kill a bunch of people. The
fuck you bullshitting me for?
Well, let's kick these kids out of school. Let's rob them of their quote-unquote education. You know, everybody's so concerned about their education. But look, we're going to... teachers and principals and educators, administrators that work in school systems are supposed to be there to educate children. How are you educating children if you're kicking them out for making a finger that looks like a gun? Explain that to me. I mean, really, what educational value are you teaching them? Shit, we better not do that here. The warden will get mad. Little girl drew a picture of a man with a gun. So this is my daddy fighting the bad guys. The school arrested him. Had him arrested. What? At his child's school. What? He didn't have a gun. What? They talked her into saying that it was her daddy being a good guy. Shooting the bad guys with a gun.
What the fuck?
This guy's actually a counselor for children within the school system. They knew who he was, but yet they had him arrested, and nobody told him for hours.
Sweet mother of God, what is the holdup?
Why he was even arrested.
What a shitload of fuck.
And the terrible thing about this, folks, is that nobody's going to hear something about this ridiculousness. I'm sure you haven't. I'm hoping that a lot of you have, because this story happened last fucking February. Okay? Yeah, February 2012 is when this story came out. But you don't hear anything about that. What else aren't you hearing about? Have you heard about the Chicago police chief who says he's going to shoot lawful gun owners?
What is that, Private Pile?
Under Chicago police chief Gary McCarthy and that hack that hired him, we all know who that stupid SOB is. Chicago's quickly become the murder capital of the United States. Last year, by a substantial amount, more Americans died from gunfire in the Windy City than they did in Afghanistan, folks. And we're at war in Afghanistan. Oh, wait, we never declared going into war. Congress didn't declare it, so we're not at war. We're just in operations over there. Because you know we haven't declared war on a country since World War II. But yet we've been in perpetual war for how long now?
Why so serious?
Failed to see the real problem of gunfire killing people in their streets. The current administration in Chicago has invented a problem that their media pals can fool the dupes who vote for them into thinking that they're solving something. This is a tried and true tactic by the government. They like to invent terrorists. They like to invent all sorts of problems just so then they can make themselves come in and say, oh, we're the good guys. Look. Now, their invented problem that they have in Chicago is what to do about dangerous people who are licensed gun owners. Now, since their constituency of public housing dwellers doesn't count when they complain, honest licensed gun owners who can put a spotlight on their future to make the streets safe must be targeted and shut up. Last week, McCarthy publicly warned licensed gun owners that his officers would shoot them if they turned with a firearm in their hand at the scene of a police-involved incident. Now, parroting the liberal lies about licensed gun owners always making things worse when they attempt to use their gun to defend themselves or others, this schmuck McCarthy said, I don't care if they're licensed legal firearms. People who are not highly trained. Putting guns in their hands is a recipe for disaster. So I'll train our officers that there is a concealed carry law, but when somebody turns with a firearm in their hand, the officer does not have an obligation to wait to get shot or to return fire, and we're going to have tragedies as a result of that, he says. So I'm telling you right up front. Now, McCarthy and his boss must realize that kissing up to the street gangs to get them to stop shooting people doesn't work. With no other options, they're now threatening the honest citizens licensed to possess and use firearms to save their own lives. The confiscation is not far off, guys. It's not. And that's going to what? Lead to war. What have I said 1,000 times over? We've got a list.
Got Bush. Oh, wow. We've got Bush. Oh.
That's posted up from the trenchesworldreport.com. And this has a list of 144 county sheriffs who say, we will not enforce an unconstitutional law. These men, as I've said before, took oaths. That's right. To defend and protect the Constitution. Now, when the federal government starts making unconstitutional laws, these sheriffs don't have to enforce them. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of states that are filing and passing legislation to invoke jail time on those trying to enforce these unconstitutional laws. In several states. Not just the gun ban, but NDAA, Obamacare, all this stuff, folks. The county sheriff has the last say when it comes to it. That's the law.
Nothing you have ever experienced can prepare you for the unbridled carnage you're about to witness.
Sheriffs from Oregon, Idaho, Missouri, Texas. We got them in Georgia, Minnesota, Florida, California, Nevada. 30 of the 33 county sheriffs in New Mexico have said, oh, hell no.
Yeah, yeah!
Idaho, Alabama, South Carolina. They're coming from all over the country, folks. They know what unconstitutional laws mean. These gentlemen have taken an oath. There are even New York county sheriffs that are saying, nope. Ain't doing it. With Mayor Admiral Mein Führer Bloomberg there with his 7th largest army in the world in New York City, better not think that they're going to try and get through the rest of the state. These people are looking to start the war. They're going to do it on purpose.
You're no good motherfucker.
No, not on purpose. I didn't say a damn thing about a dolphin.
Yes, you did!
Ah, you're breaking my bars here, huh? You're breaking my bars!
We have to get it through the rest of our fellow Americans' heads, and let's not get this ridiculously out of hand yet. Okay? We're all still Americans. Left, right, it doesn't matter. We're all American people. And if you've looked at it and read about it and done your research on this subject, you realize, hey, the government's not out to screw the Republicans. The government's not out to screw the Democrats. The government's out to screw the American people. I don't care if you're white, black, yellow, green, blue, or purple, pink, with polka dots with a goddamn flower sticking out of your ass. The government is out to screw you over. They're out to take our rights.
Oh, you're right. And when you're right, you're right. And you're always right.
The evidence is plain to see. Hey, you've got to start questioning how they can allow their hypocrisy to continue on with us. They can be surrounded and protected by guns, but we can't have them to protect ourselves. Well, I want to read you a little piece from one of my personal heroes, Mr. Judge Andrew P. Napolitano. Wrote something on LouRockwell.com. I want to read to everybody because if you've never heard of the judge, get on YouTube, look up and listen to the judge. Okay? Here's a man that will talk to you about Constitution, what the Constitution says. The Constitution says what it means. There's no interpreting it. You cannot interpret the Constitution. The words mean what they say for a reason. We're going to finish this up here today with a word from Andrew P. Napolitano called Guns and the President. Said, here's an uncomfortable pop quiz, folks. Who has killed more children, Adam Lanza or Barack Obama? We'll hold off on the answer for a few paragraphs so we look at the state of governmental excess, including killing in America. But you could probably guess the correct answer from the manner in which I posed the question. Now, we all know that the sheet anchor of our liberties is the Declaration of Independence. The president himself quoted Thomas Jefferson's most famous line in his inaugural address earlier this week. He recognized that all men and women are created equal and endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Right? Right. The president would no doubt like to modify the word created to read shall be maintained, since his presidency seems dedicated to keeping us equal, not in terms of equality of rights and opportunity, but of outcome. He's dedicated himself to using the coercive power of the federal government to take from those who have and give to those who don't. Now, under the Constitution, charity is a decision for individuals to make, not the government. The fourth egalitarianism was never the purpose of government in America. When the people in the original 13 states gave up some of their personal liberties to create their state governments so they could perform the services that governments in the West do, and when the states themselves gave up some of their liberties to create the federal government of limited powers to address the issues of nationhood, they never authorized government to impose taxes to transfer wealth to those who lack it or need it. Now, this may sound harsh, but there is simply no authority in the Constitution for the feds to tax Americans or to borrow money in their names or to rebuild private homes in New Orleans or at the Jersey Shore. And there's no moral authority for it either. If folks want to give money to those whose properties were damaged by natural disasters and lacked adequate insurance coverage, they're free to do so. But nowhere does the government have the authority to compel us to do so. This shows exactly how far we have come from the Constitution the founders gave us. They constituted a government of limited powers, and they did so because they wanted the government to protect our freedoms, since they understood that personal responsibility and freedom, not government handouts, are the soundest routes to prosperity. Hence, they limited government, because they knew the lessons of history. And those lessons informed them that often it is the government itself that is the greatest threat to personal freedom. 100 years ago, during the Progressive Era, Theodore Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson turned the concept of limited government on its head. They argued that the Constitution could be disregarded because the federal government possesses unlimited powers to address the people's needs. Barack Obama is their ideological heir. As their heir, he is not only the head of the executive branch of the federal government, but he is also the head of one of the two dominant political parties. Now, that political party has dedicated itself to making certain killing legal. The Democrats have continually celebrated the abominable decision of the Supreme Court in Roe v. Wade, issued 40 years ago this week. Bet anybody didn't know that. They have championed abortion for the past 40 years. Okay? They've assaulted the greatest and most fundamental of human rights, the right to live. In doing so, they've succeeded in causing the government to permit the killing of more than 50 million American babies in their mother's wombs in the past 40 years for the sake of a convenience and sexual activity without consequence. It's a manner that is antiseptic, and they made it in a manner that's antiseptic and lawful, and no one hears the baby's cries of pain or anguish. The president himself has more directly, killed about 176 children in Pakistan by the use of CIA drones. These drones have been dispatched by him alone, not pursuant to any congressional declaration of war. At least 2 of these murdered children were American citizens. But since the cameras were kept away, since all this takes place 10,000 miles from America, and since the survivors are legally and politically helpless, no one here will hear the Pakistani children's cries of pain and anguish. And one of the reasons we have the constitutionally guaranteed right to keep and bear arms is to enable us to resist a drone sent to the path of our children by shooting it down, no matter who sent it. But you can't stop a drone with a BB gun, now can you? Hence the need for serious firepower in the hands of ordinary Americans to give tyrants pause and to stop tyrants when they don't pause. The president wants to use Lanza's horrific slaughter of 20 babies in a public school in Connecticut with a stolen gun as an excuse to resist the freedoms of all law-abiding gun-owning Americans. Any one of whom would have stopped Lanza in a heartbeat with a lawful gun before the police could, had they actually been able to be at the school. Now back to our pop quiz. Who has killed more children, Lanza or Obama? Now, does a president with blood on his hands have any moral standing whatsoever to infringe upon the natural right to self-defense of those whose hands are clean? Would you sacrifice your liberty to defend yourself and your children so that the government can kill who it pleases? The answers are obvious, folks. We'll see you tomorrow here, folks, on The Last Voice for Liberty Network.
When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. The utmost manifestation of love and devotion to America is today, as it always has been, resistance of tyranny.